Hello everyone and welcome back to 3D Print Lab. Today we'll be printing two video game models at once. We'll be printing the Knight from Warcraft 3 and World of Warcraft, and we'll be making a comparison between the two. First we'll start off with the one from Warcraft 3, and we'll get it from Warcraft 3 Frozen Throne. So phase 2 will be extraction. What we're going to do is the Warcraft 3 assets are available for StarCraft 2 at this point. Blizzard released a patch that allowed you to get them through the StarCraft 2 editor. So we're going to actually extract the .m3 from the StarCraft 2 editor. And the models have been cleaned up and they're in a much better shape and easier to work with than the outdated .mdx format. M3 format's much easier. So we're going to bring it into 3ds Max. We're going to delete off the bones, or the DK model. And I'm also going to get rid of the bone structure. And one of the first things we're going to have to do is we're going to have to go and bridge these polygons in the bottom. When they're making the game, they're trying to save some polygons, but that's not going to work for us. And we're going to have to extrude out these planes so that they will print. The easiest way to do that is just to extrude them. I think I did like 0.5 millimeters. And we're going to have to extrude this flag out so it will print. And then anything else that's a plane. And we're going to export it out and just try slicing it real quick just to see what we need. It looks like we also need this main to be extruded. Try slicing it again just to see. And we have our layer. And a few issues. So now we're going to get our obelisk support with its spacing buffer. And this is actually brand new to the series. This is something new I'm doing. I'm going to put a spacing buffer on the obelisk supports. And you just use it while you're placing it, and then you delete it right before you go to print. And it leaves a one layer gap between your support and your model. And it works really well because it forces delamination between the support and the model. And you're left with really clean parts. And if you just make sure that everything has that forced delamination layer gap, and then you can come back later and put on mesh mixer support to get those weird angles. You can print anything with any kind of weird overhang or any kind of difficult part, and it can be printed on any printer with built-in support, and it saves time because you're not wasting time on automatic support that puts support everywhere, including exactly where it doesn't need to be. So, I mean, yes, there is disadvantages to making your own custom support, but you have so much more control over what happens, and really you can save a lot of plastic and time by doing it that way. I mean, there's more labor involved because you do have to design it yourself. It's not just press a button and it's done, but it's less print time, it's less plastic, and it's much faster to de-rig because everything just falls off instead of, I've had some fully supported models that you have to take Dremel tools to, and it's just not worth it. So you gotta, weigh the advantages and disadvantages, and just get Brian to do it. Just go to KippurCatArts and be like, hey, can you rig this model for me? Will you make a video? Sure, I'll rig it up and make a video for you. I'll put it on the queue. My queue has like 50 or 60 models on it, so I'm just trying to knock them out as I go. One of these days I'll get caught up, but people keep requesting things and I just keep making them. And I try to promise that I'm going to do it, but if you could only see the queue, it's really big. I'm going to start doing these Duality videos, 3D Print Lab Dualities, which is I take two models and they're either from the same games or they're similar. So like for this example, I did a Knight. So I did the Knight from Warcraft 3, I did the Knight from World of Warcraft. So I did those and kind of show like the similarities and differences between them. And I'm also going to do like between games. Like one of the ones I do is I want to do some ships from like Supreme Commander and Red Alert 3, and just do a comparison between some really big ships and show how they're all supported and everything. That way I can promote the same video in multiple locations, and I think it'll work better to promote the same videos in multiple locations instead of promoting 2 videos in 2 separate locations. But we'll see. Anyway, we are now in production. This took 57 minutes and 9 grams of PLA, biodegradable, corn-based plastic, starch-based. I guess it can also be made out of potatoes. And it came out pretty good. Now we're going to go to the location for the World of Warcraft model. And we're just going to get that right out of the World of Warcraft MPQ archive. So we're going to go to extraction. And we're going to just use the... It's not an MPQ archive. It's a different archive extractor for that. It's called the CASC extractor, cask extractor. And you take out the... I don't think it's an M3, I think it's an M2. Let me check real quick. No, those do actually come out as M3s. So everything is M3 by now. Anyway, so this one was a little difficult. The bone structure was like baked on, so I had to kind of like glitch it in 3ds Max in order to get it to not be ridiculous. But the first thing I was going to do was even off these feet so it'll have something to print flat on. So I'll actually scrub the timeline and find a keyframe of animation where the feet are touching the bottom, and then I'll boolean it off with a plane or with a box in order to get something flat to print with. And I'm just going to select all those faces and extrude it a bit so that it has some geometry. Anything that's a plane won't print. It does need to be dealt with. But yeah, I had some issues here. When you try to boolean it all together, the skinning, the rigging of the model falls apart. So I had to fight it for a while and try to figure out how to get it to boolean together without it doing that. So just try booleening. It gave me a lot of issues until I finally figured out what I needed to do. This model has quite a few issues, but I just decided to get it to print alright and just move on. Anyway, so I finally figured out that if you take a box and you attach it to the geometry and then you delete the box, you're left with a unified geometry that is good to go, that you can edit freely. And then just need to select the stirrups and give them some more geometry, some thickness. Give the tail some thickness. Give these ears a thickness. And then there's this huge hole in the head. I don't know why it's there, but I just decided to patch it manually just by moving some vertices, some edges. And then I wasn't able to patch that bottom, so I just left it open, and it actually ended up printing. So I actually came back and I made each individual piece attached and did that way. Oh, yes, I actually did decide to add some thickness to that shell for the skirt of the horse. That way it will actually print something instead of just trying to print a plane. And most of the time planes just turn into nothing. So I had to fix these ears. They're just really strange. I had to stitch this geometry back together. I have no idea why it's open like that, but I'm sure there's a reasonable explanation that Blizzard could give me. So now we're going to go ahead and start doing our support with our obelisk gap support. Go ahead and put them over where they need to be, making sure that just the yellow discs touch, and then as soon as the discs have touched, we'll go back and remove all the yellow circle disc things, the spacing discs. That way you'll have that one gap, one layer gap, and the support falls off. That was a major discovery that took a while to figure out, but I ended up looking, the way I figured it out is I looked at the raft, the MakerBot raft, and if you look at it, when you get straight vertical on it, you can see there's one layer gap between the raft and the model. And that's what allows it to pop right off the raft. So I had to select the feet again, and actually I had to select the open faces on the feet and cap them because they didn't get capped when they extruded. Pretty much good to go again. And I'm just making sure, coming back and making sure that everything is supported. There's a few more things missing, so I decided to make a couple of these short little toothpick supports. Let's go ahead and take them off there. And then I just decided to do align to point. Support the hands. And then just move these over. And then I need to put my custom raft down just to hold things together, which isn't super important because I decided to do regular raft anyway, but you can try to print it without MakerBot raft. And then I decided to take it into Mesh Mixer, because Mesh Mixer can give you those weird angles that you can't really do within 3ds Max. When it's hard to get an angle within 3ds Max, it takes too long to try to rotate something in that direction, but you can really just get into Mesh Mixer and do it really quickly. Anyway, so we're going to try to convert it. It looks like it's going to print pretty well. There's no unaccounted overhangs, except for his tassel on his head. And we went back and fixed that before we went to print. Anyway, it took an hour and 4 minutes. It took 8 grams of PLA, silver ZenToolWorks PLA, that I love so much. Now de-rigging. So I just work carefully to take all the support off without breaking anything. There was a couple of fragile things on these models. Thankfully, didn't end up breaking anything. The tails were the most fragile on both models. Trying to pop off the raft and disconnect the model from the base, which has been done. And just clean it up a little bit, and there it is. And there he is, standing right next to his raft, the support that he was built on top of. Facing right, facing left, facing back. Now we're going to de-rig the World of Warcraft knight. And with this one, we started out with some nail clippers to cut off some of the very fragile things, because if you just start ripping off the raft, you'll destroy everything really quickly. We got the raft off quick, and then we just started taking off all the other little supports. There's a lot of cleanup on this one because there's much more detail. I think it's way more high poly. World of Warcraft model's way more high poly than the Warcraft 3 one. Maybe there it is, sitting next to its raft. Facing forward. Some background. It's a little dark. Let's see about changing the next time, so it's not so bad. And there they are, standing next to each other. It's crazy how far Blizzard came in just 2 or 3 years between those games. Anyway, that is the Knight from World of Warcraft and Warcraft 3. If you like what you saw, please subscribe. I will see you next time.